We're talking about meditation this morning. And specifically, what we're talking about is the meditation or the ideas around emotion, right? Because emotion is something that we don't really quite understand, but yet it plays a huge role. Some of us may understand it. Some of us maybe they're sitting like, oh, I understand emotion. That's wonderful. But many people don't. Many people don't know how emotion is really our radio or our almost like signaling radar for experience. So emotion is such a powerful thing in our lives and in our experiences. And I say experiences because that's really what emotion dictates, right? Our experience. So whether things are going well or whether things are going badly is not dependent on what's happening outside of us. It's depending on what's happening within us. Now, some people say, well, if my house burns down, I'm unhappy. Yeah, well, that's true. Maybe you can deal with that. But you can look at it this way, like, oh, well, we saved all the pictures and good morning. And we saved all the pictures, but at the same time, we have insurance. Everything's taken care of. So that perspective says, so be it. I'll rebuild. I'll rebuild bigger and better. Now, do you need to immediately do that? Maybe not. It even talks about how the Buddha, when he found out that his village had been ransacked by a other kingdom, took 2 or 3 days to mourn and to reflect on that. And it doesn't mean you don't have emotion, but it means that you choose your experience. The story of the maybe yes, maybe no is really important when it comes to emotions. Now, emotions are what defines and creates our experience as human beings. So when we understand that our emotions are our vibration and our thoughts give rise to emotion at the beginning, then we can then be aware of how we are engaging our lives and engaging our world, right? Good morning, Suzai, Jabril, Carlita. It's all so good to see you guys. So emotions. Emotions are the real vibration of the universe, right? That's how we engage. And that's what emotion does. It gives us the opportunity to be disciplined with our emotions, being disciplined with our space. We can then choose our experience. And some people say, well, I'm not a robot. That's true. You're not a robot, but you do have an operating software of your experience. And you were given free will by Eve, right? That apple gave us the opportunity to experience free will. So the emotional well-being, welcome everyone, the emotional well-being is the core of everything, right? And you can train that. Now, whether you decide to get angry about something or you decide to get happy about something, that's a choice, right? So if something's happening, let's say someone's doing something and they're doing something that you don't like. Now you have one of two choices, and this is a real thing that you can find in many books, is that you can either have compassion and understanding for that person and say, you know what? They know not what they do. I have understanding for them. Or you can get angry. And what happens is in your mind, you have literal neural pathways. And people use the word literal perhaps too much, but I mean, it's actually happening in your brain. There is a chemical reaction in a neuron that is built to the exit expression. So if someone does something or something happens that you don't like, and you go to anger or fear or doubt or anxiety, the mind is going to build a stronger and stronger pathway to that experience. Now, if you decide to go towards compassion, understanding, they know not what they do, forgive them, then you begin to build that neural pathway. Is that easier to do? No. But is that going to pay off long-term for your emotional, physical, mental, and probably financial well-being? Yes. Because what's going to happen is that when things happen that go wrong, instead of getting involved and getting on that boat, as it were, because emotions are kind of like boats on a river, right? You see them come by and you can either get on that boat or you can watch the boat go by and say, oh my gosh, look at that experience. Look at that expression. Look at that feeling. I had a feeling this morning. I was watching a few live feeds, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, and I had a few feelings of, fear and doubt and anxiety. And I was like, are these real? Yes, I'm feeling them. But can I get on that boat and go down that experience? Yes. But instead take a step back and say, oh, well, perhaps I'm projecting my own experience and fears onto this. And instead of doing that, I'm just going to say, you know what? I wish that experience the best. I understand that experience. And instead of judging it, I'm going to have compassion for it and love it. Now that's my choice. So instead of getting riled up, I have compassion and love for it. Does it take discipline? Absolutely. And that's the core of it. So you want to begin to discipline your emotions. Now, how does that all feed into meditation? Well, the idea is that when you have the emotion, which is authentic, I'm not talking about suppressing emotions. I'm not talking about pushing them down and not dealing with them. I'm talking about creating a processing plant within your system of emotional well-being that when an emotion comes up, you sit with it, you identify it, you acknowledge it, and then what you do is you decide how you're going to move through this emotion. So let's say I have an emotion of anxiety, right? I'm fearful of what may happen. And I take that emotion and say, well, is that anxiety going to serve me? It might. You know, if I'm going into the woods with grizzly bears, me being anxious or concerned will then have me prepared for those grizzly bears. But if I'm going to meet somebody, then there's anxieties on all different levels. Then how I approach that to say, well, you know what? I'm going to choose to approach this and myself with love. So it's not being a robot, as it were, but it's being disciplined in how you choose to experience those thoughts. Mark Twain, or Samuel Clemens, once said, I have experienced a great many calamity, none of which have ever come to pass. Which means oftentimes we're wrapped up in our mind, having these experiences, having these moments that cause us a lot of fear, and none of them are real. They're possibilities, but they're not real. And that is such a fascinating element of the mind when it's connected to emotions, because our thoughts are powerful, and people know this. But and they've done clinical studies, that if you visualize yourself in a negative or harmful situation, your nervous system and body reacts the same way as if it were true. Alternately, that if you react in a positive or visualize something that's positive, your body reacts as if it were true. So your body and your emotional guidance system doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's visualized, which opens up a whole new questions to say that, is this all even real? Because at the end of the day, your experience is dependent on your emotions. Now, the most powerful way to look at emotions integrated into meditation is, there's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, and this is one of my favorites, and I have lots of favorites. Whether I offer up a gold bar or a leaf, it is seen the same in the eyes of the divine. Now, agnostic or otherwise, or atheist or otherwise, all you have to really offer in this world when it comes to your energetics is that emotion, right? Because if you choose to believe in the concept of the divine, which I choose to, I've seen far too many miraculous things happen in my experience to not believe that there's something else, then all you can offer, because anything you have, your cell phone, a gold bar, a car, a house, everything is intrinsically the divine in that sense, right? So you can't give the divine to itself. You can't give that leaf that is divine to itself. But the emotion that's generated within yourself, that is unique to you. That is your choice. That is something that you are offering that cannot be generated by anyone other than your experience and your will. And that, I believe, is the image and likeness of the divine, because the divine is emotion. So the image of likeness of the divine is the emotional experience that you choose to offer. And the human beings have an immense emotional capability, both negative, but alternately positive. And if we choose to take these emotions through meditation to begin to operate at a higher and higher level of emotional vibration, then we begin to have those experiences. Now, whether this is true or not, you'll have to try on your own. Then the Buddha, and remember, Buddha's not a religion. It's a philosophy, kind of like Confucianism. There's no head. There's no, thing to bow down to. In fact, Buddha means to be awakened. So when people say, oh, Buddhism, that's a religion, kind of is, but really it's a philosophy. And Buddha means to be awake, and Buddhahood can be just bestowed on anyone. And that's the concept of being awake. And if you become awake to the emotions and your emotional guidance system, then that gives you power and mastery over your experience. And some people believe, and this is something that I actually attribute to, and this is something that comes up in The Secret and The Science of Getting Rich and Think and Grow Rich. I would recommend both. I'd recommend all those books: Science of Getting Rich, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's books, and then also many holy books. Is that your emotional experience then vibrates your reality, which means that if you think love, think kindness, think prosperity, which is well-being, think wealth, and wish it for others, it becomes true in your experience, which is a really powerful thing, which means that you can judicate by the choices that you make your experience, which is mind-blowing, right? You're not dictated to fate. In fact, I remember reading this book that, you have the way you were born, the experiences that you have. You can't control those things. You absolutely can't. So 75% is put upon you, meaning you can't control the race you were born in, the gender you were made, where you were born on the earth, when you were born on the earth. You can't control those things, but you can control the way you think, the way you speak, the way you feel, and the way you act. And although that's a smaller proportion, it is a powerful, powerful one. Many people talk about 1% is the difference between good and great. Tony Robbins does. So you have 25%. That's a lot. So how does this all relate back to meditation? Well, meditation is the mental gymnasium, the emotional gymnasium that you begin to train with, right? So these priests, these different meditation masters that can do sometimes inhuman feats, they are masters of their mental and emotional experience. And then through that, their body. So your emotional experience dictates your well-being. And that is, in my experience, which might be unique from yours, the most powerful. So if you come from a place of emotional discipline, and if you've been done sports or done any kind of discipline, you can apply this. But it's amazing how disciplined we are, perhaps in sports and athletics and finances, but yet we let our mind run wherever it would like. We shoot every day. We do the finances every day. We do whatever it is that we're disciplined every day. But while we're doing that, our thoughts run wild. Our emotions run wild. But we have a choice. In fact, let's do something right now, if you'd like to. We're going to do a little visualization exercise to show you how powerful your meditation and visualization is. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes, take a deep, full breath, and relax. If you'd like to join, great. And if not, that's fine. You do what's best for you. I'd like in your mind's eye to visualize yourself about to get into a cage. Now the cage is in water and you're about to go into a great white adventure experience. Now some of you might be terrified just at the thought of that. And that's what I'm getting to. Now imagine yourself slipping into the cage. You're in no actual danger, but you see the great whites swimming around you. You see the great whites up against the thing. Your whole body is going on alert, even though you know you're safe in that shark cage. And this has been done hundreds of times. You still can feel the anxiety roll up. Now, pull yourself out of that experience and find yourself surrounded by a bunch of adorable animals or things that you adore. It can be puppies. It can be kittens. It can be flowers. It can be money. It can be whatever you like, and see yourself surrounded by those things. And visualize all of those things are just loving on you. Imagine your face being licked by a puppy, or having a big stack of money, or being given flowers. How does that make you feel? Now go ahead and open your eyes. Now, did you see yourself run the gambit of emotion, but yet we didn't go anywhere? None of those things were real, but yet your emotional experience, you varied. And if you didn't, that's fine. But that's the reality of it. That's what meditation teaches you. That's why the affirmations, the meditations, the visualizations are literal gymnasiums. And I say that word again, literal, because they are a practical, actual tool to begin to reframe your thinking and to discipline your thinking. Because if you're thinking the affirmations, if you're doing the visualizations, if you're practicing the meditations, you're up-leveling your vibrational thought, experience, and actions to it. So if you discipline yourself to meditation, discipline yourself to your thoughts, or discipline yourself to your emotions, and not in a strangling way, but just in awareness way. Oh, I'm being afraid. Oh, I'm being anxious. Oh, I'm being negative. Oh, I'm being detrimental. Oh, I'm being mean to myself. Oh, I'm being mean to others. That's fine. Fall down 7, get up 8. It doesn't matter how many times your mind pivots and shifts, because perhaps you've been training it on this for a very, very long time. But the beauty of this is that it's shown in clinical studies, and I mean clinical, like done by doctors, that 2 weeks of meditation can begin to shift the way that your synapses fire in a very powerful way. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of meditating, even very short amounts of time. There's a saying that says, from Ananda, which is a group that I love. You should check them out if you want to do meditation classes through them. They're incredible, ananda.org. They're very dear to my heart. Even a little bit of meditation can alleviate you from great suffering. And I really like that because it says only a little bit of meditation. That means just sitting and being still and saying a mantra, a meditation, a vibration, a visualization, even for a little bit, can alleviate you from great suffering. Now, for me, that works well for me because sometimes I am not as disciplined as I'd like myself to be. So knowing that simply doing that and getting myself on the emotional space and the emotional headspace makes all the difference. So meditation, through all that, is mental and emotional discipline, persistence, and consistency to choose the emotion that you want after the emotional experience comes up about the current situation. And this is a true story. I was at Ananda and I was training in meditation, and it was great there. I met incredible people who I had incredible experiences with, who were incredibly lovely, who made my experience incredibly joyful. There are moments down by the river that were absolutely amazing. There were moments in the space that were absolutely amazing. But I remember walking along, and some of you might remember this, and I dropped my phone and it cracked. And I thought to myself, what good is going to come from this? And it shocked me because I was like, oh my gosh, I've been meditating, and it was during taking meditation classes. And I was like, oh my gosh, my first thought is, how is this perceived calamity? Because sometimes people perceive breaking your phone worse than an actual physical injury. And I thought to myself, how is this going to benefit me? How is this going to help? How is this going to make my experience better? How is this going to emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially up-level me? And it did. It turns out that I was able to get a new phone and everything was fine. And it was perhaps a moment to say, hey, you need to back off your phone and let your phone go. Now, if I'd gotten all emotionally upset about it and angry and worried and doubtful and being like, oh no, my phone is broken, nothing would have changed. Because the truth is I needed a new phone anyway. I was up for a new phone, and it was time for me to get a new phone. And it was for the best. Excuse me. And that's what the training happens. If I would have got wrapped up in that day, I could have ruined my day. I could have ruined the person that I was hanging out with's day. I could have ruined everybody I encounter's day. And this is a fun way of thinking it. When you choose through meditation, your emotional state, and you need to re-choose this state maybe every moment, every minute. Excuse me. I got a little coconut this morning and it's stuck in my throat. Every minute, every hour, every day. When you choose that emotional well-being, when you choose that kindness, when you choose that understanding, when you choose that harmony, when you choose that peace, every person you meet, you then give the opportunity to plant that seed in them. Think about that. That every person that you meet, when you choose kindness, when you choose love, now whether they receive that seed or not is not up to you. You can't control that. But that choice of emotion, that choice of vibration that you bring to the table, then gives them the opportunity to say, oh my gosh, they're choosing that vibration. If they can choose it, maybe I can. So with your words, with your speech, with your vibration, with your choices, you then have the opportunity to plant that seed of peace, prosperity, love, and tranquility by the vibration, the words, and the actions that you take in another person. And then once that plant grows, that person will then have the opportunity. And you see how this is infinitely prolific in kindness. And that's the power of emotions in meditation. Now, I haven't gotten too much into thoughts because we're focusing on meditation, on emotions. But emotions are the way that the universe, at least from my understanding, engages and vibrates with you and wants to give you the frequency that you're on. So for me, even if you're not coming from a spiritual or religious background, I prefer spiritual, and you come from a perhaps agnostic or non-believer background or whatever it is, atheist, it's not important. This on a scientific level has been shown that the emotions that you vibrate from your heart can be read and then begin to have an effect on the world around you. Now, let me say that again. The emotions that you choose to feel begin to vibrate and actually have a physical, measurable frequency. You can check this out at heartmath.com. Has an actual tangible frequency you can measure and has been shown scientifically to vibrate and to affect the world around you. So what is all of this leading up to? All of this is leading up to the idea that if you choose to, and it's your choice, that's the beauty of it, right? You can choose or not to, whatever you want to do. You can choose to begin to meditate today. Now, meditation, there's all forms of meditation. There's walking meditation. There's, sitting, mantras, moving. I mean, meditation is simply, as I said before, choosing your thoughts and experiences in a repetitive way. You can walk a labyrinth. The labyrinth came up recently for me about a map. Labyrinths can be walking meditations, but that's also an extraneous allegory and metaphor for the world, right? Because when you walk through the labyrinth of the world, what's the meditation or vibration that you're going to choose? So emotion is one of the most core components of your experience because it dictates your well-being. So emotion can be chosen by visualization and meditation. And the more you choose to meditate, to visualize, to affirm in that state that you wish to have, the more you're likely to continue in that state. Now, some people will say, well, I tried meditation, I tried to be positive, and nothing changed. Well, you reap what you sow. So if you begin your meditation and affirmation and visualization and begin towards, in a disciplined way, the positive, and you're still reaping some of the negative that you've energetically vibrated in your life, that's fine. You have to get through that crop or those crops of negativity with a joyful, happy spirit for things to then pivot. And that's part of the thing. Like, what you reap, what you sow is a powerful thing. When you've planted those seeds and those seeds grow up and you're still reaping, but I'm being positive. Well, yeah, but you also need to move through that and you're still disciplining your mind. And oftentimes the more you do it, the more you'll realize how you pull back and pull back and pull back. And that the constructs that you thought were realities in your mind and your emotional definiteness were really just ideas you had about yourself. And then that dictated your reality. Like, I am this, I am that, I am this. And the farther back you move and the farther back you move in meditation, you realize like, oh, that was a choice. That was given to me by my culture, my parents, or my ideas, or something that wasn't even real that I decided when I was 5. So meditation gives you the opportunity to choose your experience, choose your vibration, and through thoughts, emotions, and words, you then choose your actions. And those 4 things dictate your reality to the best of my knowledge. And I could be wrong. I'm going to wrap this up. I could be absolutely wrong. But why don't you go try? Why don't you go see? Why don't you go test it out and see if kind words, kind thoughts, kind emotions begin to shift the reality around you? And that's as simple as a visualization. Now, let's do a brief visualization right now, just for fun, to see if we can change our day. Now, this one is from Louise Hay. She's absolutely amazing. I would recommend her stuff. Let's go ahead and just close our eyes. This is going to be a 1-minute long visualization. And take a deep, full breath. And see your day unfold in front of you. And think of something or someone that you're grateful for. And get that beautiful, grateful energy rolling around in your hips, in your heart. And feel that gratitude. Like I'm thinking of something I'm grateful for at Ananda. Deep, full breath. And then see that energy flow out of you like a river forward to each person that you meet. And see each person that you meet today, whether it be your friends, family, or someone you happen to meet, react to you in a kind and loving way. And see each place you're going to go to filled with love, and people react to you in a kind and loving way. To each person that you interact with, friends, family, see them smile at you and you smile at them. and see your whole day going well until you finally see yourself at night, laying down in your bed, reflecting on what a beautiful day it was, how grateful you were for the day, and how all the good, both expected and unexpected, came to you. Deep, full breath and open the eyes. How do you feel? I feel good. I feel a little lightness in the head. I feel joy. I feel gratitude. I feel ready for the day. And see, just for today, be self-observant to see perhaps how you shift out of this energy and why. Who does it to you? And why do you let them? Because you choose your emotions. No one can choose them for you. And how your day might be different because you've simply chosen this. And this is just the beginning of it. So that's the root of emotion. Next week, we're going to talk about thoughts. And then after that, we're going to talk about types of emotions and executable emotions. After that, we're actually going to do a class called it's practical meditation. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be teaching everyone that chooses to participate 3 minutes of meditation a day. That's 3. That's literally 6 commercials. That's literally the time that some of us take to go to the restroom. 3 minutes a day. And at the end of 4 weeks, the idea is to have you meditating 3 minutes a day on whatever is inspired to you, whatever you feel, whatever resonates with you. Trusting you are very well, wishing you all kinds of prosperity, well-being, wealth, unexpected and expected today. Talk to you guys later.